Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, no matter where you are. Welcome to Monday Morning Coffee. I'm so pumped about this one today. I really want to share something that I've been working on now for almost, 7-8 months, that I've been reading a passage from a book, The Hidden Power by Thomas Troward. And as I was reading another book, Conversation with God, with Neil Donald Walsh, if you haven't read this book, I really recommend it because it is so good. Which you might find, just the title, there's some people that are just like, nah, I don't want to hear that. What the heck? Don't worry about it. It's really good. And what it did, it helped me to understand another concept that I've been studying for, as I mentioned, many months now. And it became so clear all of a sudden. And as I was talking with my wife yesterday, or this morning rather, she was talking and saying something to me, and it became all clear. And that is exactly the reason why we are connecting to the study. This is why the studying is so important. This is why that you need to spend time at revisiting some ideas that you might have that are not clear for the time being. So they're going to be clear only when you are spending time and you're revisiting the same thing over and over again, because it's not because you're reading some passages out of the book that now all of a sudden it's all clear. It's true that revision, which, by the way, Neville, another book that you must have, The Power of Awareness, there is one chapter here where he said that if you're not happy with what you're seeing, the pruning shears of revision, that is the title of this part, is you can revise whatever that you are putting your mind into it. So let's say at night you're in bed and then you're rethinking about your day, and you see that during the day, like there was some things that didn't go as you planned, or the outcome was not as good as what you were anticipating. You can, in your mind, totally change that and totally create a revision of that event. So imagine that. So in your mind, and there's another passage from Neville where he says that truth is not what will create what is reality. It's truly the intensity of your imagination that is created truth. So think about the ramification about this, that you can truly start creating a different truth in your mind by revisiting and changing things the way you are perceiving them. And this is why perception is one of your highest faculty, and you don't utilize this in your advantage. Most of the time you are utilizing this in your disadvantage. So I see Perez here. Perez is from the area where I'm living now. Good to have you here. Alfredo has joined us. I see other people. Greg is there as well. Good morning. Greg is always there. Yami, Rita, good morning. Happy to have you here. Now, what I want you to really, it's really focus on what I'm going to share with you today, because this is extremely powerful, and this is going to give you a good understanding as well when you're experiencing challenges, how that you can deal with those challenges, and how can you start having those challenges work for you. Like, be in your advantage. Good morning, Dallas. Good to have you here this morning. So into the chapter on entering into the spirit of it from Thomas Troward, The Hidden Power, it's so good and so powerful. So just bear with me for a second, where he says, every fact implies also its negative. And we never properly understand a thing until we not only know what it is, but also clearly understand what it is not. So this is what happened to us, is that my wife was looking at, what we're working on in the different aspect of our business. And then she just discover that there's a hidden beliefs that she has there. And I mean, she was shaped, right? As we all are shaped when we discover something that we didn't know that was there. And the thought that I gave her was like, yeah, but if you would not realize this, you could not discover the perfection in it. You could not discover that the fact that the opposite is also true, right? So in order for you to discover the truth, to discover the perfection in your being, because coming from source, coming from the energy, coming from the oneness, like that oneness is perfect, right? But knowing into this physical realm what that oneness is, we need to discover what it is not. So in this case, discovering that beliefs about like her success and her succeeding and going to where she wants to go, she needed to first realize what it is not. That's exactly what Thomas Troward is talking about here. So to a complete understanding, the knowledge of the negative is as necessary to the knowledge of the affirmative. For the perfect knowledge consists in realizing the relation between the two. Right? To have a perfect knowledge, we need to realize what is good and what is true and what it is not true, based on what you want, right? The affirmative and the negative. And the perfect power grows out of this knowledge by enabling us to balance the affirmative and negative against each other in any proportion that we will, thus giving flexibility to what would otherwise be too rigid and form to what would otherwise be too fluid. So if a thing is too rigid, then it's not malleable. You cannot use it. You cannot play with it. You cannot form things that you want. But then if it is too fluid, then you cannot grasp it. You cannot hold it. It's going to just go and just disintegrate itself in your hands. And so by uniting these two extremes to produce any results we may desire, it is the old aromatic saying, coagula et solve, solidify the fluid and dissolve the solid. And therefore, if we would discover the secret of entering into the spirit of it, we must get some idea of the negative, which is the not spirit. So the not spirit into this world, into this realm that we're living in, is the mechanism aspect, which is the strategy, which is the business plan that you're going to take, which is everything which is in this material world that we're living in. This is the not spirit. The spirit is the mindset. And what we need to do is we need to have a balance between the two. Now, what we're discovering now into our teaching is that the majority of what we're doing is coming from the mindset. And the strategy is a very small part of it. But one is as necessary to the other one. You cannot just be only on the strategy or only on the mindset. If you don't have both, you won't have completeness. And that is exactly, now I'm going to go to what I've read with Conversation with God with Neil Donald Walsh, which by the way, it's an old book, like 1995. He started writing it in 93. But he said in there that when the student is ready, the teacher appears, which the book is like kind of a teaching. So I really, really love what is written in there. But what he said is like, and a friend of mine brought this to my attention, a colleague of mine. And I remember when she said that, it was so perfect. It was exactly where it needed to be. That was exactly what I needed to hear at that moment. And she said that God, in all his perfectness, right? All this is beautiful, is beauty and being the oneness. The only way you can experience life is through the human experience. Now, that concept might just shake some of you, and you might just like, wow, this is nonsense, I'm leaving. it's fine. It doesn't mean that it is not true. And it doesn't mean that what I'm saying, it's the truth, right? It is a way of looking at it. You choose how that you want to perceive this. But I remember when I heard this, I thought, oh, this is really, really good. So the only way God can experience the mechanism, the physical world, is to and through us. And this is why we've been made into the image of God, right? So the experience that for you to not have what you want, so let's say that not having money, or not having the ideal job, not having clients, not traveling the way that you want, all this is designed to remember your wholeness, to remember, because like based at the energy field, based at the oneness of being connected to the source, you know what it is to earn the money, to have the clients, to travel around the world, to do all of those things. You know all this already, right? But not having it, and this is exactly as well what Neville, I'm going to read another passage from Neville. The reason why you're not experiencing those things is to remember what is the opposite of what you already know. It's just like, yeah, but Mark, I don't know what it is to be a millionaire. Into your very essence, into your very being, whatever you want, it's already there, it already exists. So you already know what it is and how to live there at the cellular level. But the fact that you're experiencing the flesh right now, you're experiencing the physical world, the physical experience that you're having, it's to make you remember what is the opposite of what you already know. Because the wholeness, you already know that part. But not having it reminds you the opposite. And that's one of the law of the universe that we're working on, the law of polarity. And I talked a little bit about this in another video that I did like a couple weeks ago. But this is the passage which I really, really love, which makes so much sense. And now it makes even more sense because of what I'm reading now. It is for this purpose of training us in image making that we were made subject to the limitation of the senses and clothed in bodies of flesh. So the human experience that we are having right now is exactly designed for us to be able to remember the wholeness of being. We were subjected to the biological experience because no one can know of imagination who has not been subjected to the vanity and limitation of the flesh, who has not taken his share of sonship and gone prodigal, who has not experimented and tasted this cup of experience. And confusion will continue until man awakes, man and woman, awakes, and a fundamentally imaginative view of life has been reestablished and acknowledged as basic. So in other words, for you to be able to understand how to utilize your imagination, to utilize and to work with the power that have been given upon us, right? The power of creation, the power of utilizing our imagination. We need to first experience the not having. We need to first experience what it is to be on this realm, because the realm of imagination, creating on command, being able to utilize our perception and start recreating in our mind what we can create. The only way we can do that is when we understand the opposite of it, is we utilizing the law of opposite. So every time that you're having an experience which is not aligned with what you want, you have to remember that the opposite also exists. And the fact that you are not experiencing what you want, and this reminds you that of what you do want. And your attention should be redirected toward the opposite. Should be just like, you know what? I acknowledge this is not what I want. But then don't start dwelling on this and start feeling sorry for yourself and start like criticizing and say, God, why are you doing this to me? Like, what do I have done? What do I deserve? Why? Blah, blah, blah. No, don't dwell on it. Look at, acknowledge, this is not what I want. I want the opposite of this. I want prosperity. I want abundance. I want love. I want this and that and that. And then put your attention on it, because this first event or whatever experience you are having is just to remind you of the perfection of who you are and what you are. And this is so, so powerful. And it should give you this sense of support and knowing that God is always there for you. God is always there to support you. And if you don't like the term God, you can use the universal intelligence, universe, you can use the infinite spirit, you can use whatever you want. It doesn't matter what brand you're putting on it. Buddha, Allah. At the end of the day, we're all talking about the same thing. And this is so much power. And that power, you should harness it. You should use it for you, for your own good and for the good of your family and humanity. Ultimately, this is what matters in all this, right? So I see Subayal is here. Robert, good morning. Matt says, amazing. Thank you for sharing this, Marc. You're very welcome. Guillermo has been here. Natalie, bonjour. This is amazing, Marc. Thank you. Judith is there. Z is there. Anastasia. There's a lot of people which are here, which are connecting. Carla. It is like, this is your power. This is what you have. But always remember that the experience that you are having right here, right now, it's designed for you to remember the power that you have and connect to your higher faculties and start using those higher faculties in your advantage and not letting your higher faculties control you and letting the outside condition control you and letting the bank tell you, oh, you need to do things this way or that way or that way, because all this has nothing to do with the power that you hold within. And this is the difference between the people which are extremely successful, that are managing and creating the reality that they want, and the people that are victim of their environment, and then they're blaming everybody for, well, the life which is not exactly what they are looking for. So how do you do that yourself? How are you utilizing this power? What are you doing every single day that can help you to continuing living the life on your own term, living the life the way that you decide to live it? Because man, oh man, this life is absolutely beautiful, and what we can create out of it is outstanding. We have truly given power, right? And I feel so blessed every day. I feel so blessed. Veronica says she's there. Good morning, Jane. You're very welcome. Alfredo is talking about experiment contrast. I'm not sure if that experiment contrast more that the experience that you're having on this plane is designed for you to remember the perfection from where you're coming from. And that is so, so important that you understand this and that you started living this way. Because only when you can grasp that you're not going to let the experience of not being so good or not having the results that you want, and then you start blaming everything instead of just looking at it and just remembering. Remembrance. This is what Neil Donald Walsh is talking about in his book, Remembrance. Remembrance of the perfection from where you're coming from. And that part to me is just a blessing in itself. So just make sure that you embrace this part and you're looking at this beauty that you're going to experience today. I hope that this is helping you. I hope that this little morning coffee making you warm in your heart. And I'm gonna see you sometime this week. I'm gonna share a little bit of knowledge, what is striking me into my reading and what I come up with. Have a spectacular day, and I hope to see you somewhere this week. Peace out.